this is Shannon Elizabeth, and you are listening to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
A third of the people love you, a third don't care about you, and a third hate you. So you concentrate on the third that love you, and you go for it.
I think the greatest Achilles heel for leaders is they don't give themselves time to think.
So my journey is one of those, there are a lot of detours. There's a lot of going off on the side roads.
Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat. We're here with Jamal Mashburn,
Jesse Itzler,
the John Maxwell,
Jackie the Joke Man Martling, New York Rangers great Mike Richter,
Lisa Lampanelli,
Mary Carrillo.
Oh, how nice.
I'm actually going through the practice of being an entrepreneur.
Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and thrive loud.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have actress, activist, vegan. She is the founder of Animal Avengers, which is focused on helping combat the poaching crisis and save our wildlife and wild places. Based both in South Africa and the United States, the foundation uses a collaborative approach. They believe that to protect animals and their environment, you must uplift and include the local communities surrounding you. The hope and goal is that no animal must go through life as an orphan ever again. You know her from her movies, possibly her poker playing. But today you'll get a chance to learn how she's thriving loud every single day to help make our world a better place. Thrive Loud listeners, Shannon Elizabeth. Shannon, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Spectacular. You are coming to us from South Africa, and
yes.
We found the time difference between the two of us here. And,
yes.
And if it's okay with you, Shannon, I wanted to share with you it has to be the ultimate in connecting on how this all came to be. Would that be fair for our listeners to understand?
100%. And thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. That's amazing.
It does sound good when you take the best of whatever people write about you and you shout it really loudly.
Yes, thank you.
So here's a crazy story. My very good friend and former guest on this show, Jill Schiffelbein, she visited Africa last year and connected with a rescued rhino, Munu. I went to her party in New York City when she was leaving New York, and we actually were making contributions and donations to a cause around Munu. And maybe 1 week later, I get a message from another connection of mine, Wendy Green, who is somehow right next to you. And we literally start texting back and forth and says, you got to have Shannon on. She has all these great causes, the Shannon Elizabeth Foundation, all these great things. And when I looked you up, I'm like, what is all the world is pointing to me around rhinos. So I said, I have to have you on, and I wanted to share the story. So that's our connection on how you got on this program here, and we're very appreciative to have you on.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I haven't gotten to meet Munu yet, but I do know the area that he's in, and I know Brett, who has rescued him and taken him on, and he's been doing amazing work. And he was actually donated some land by a guy named Adrian Gardner from the Mantis collection to create this beautiful area for Munu. And we just visited this area last year. So I know all about him, and I've talked to Brett about him as well. And it took a lot of convincing for him to get Sandparks, which is South African National Parks, to give him Munu, because they just don't usually do that with their animals. But they were looking to put him down because he's blind.
Right.
And he's a black rhino that's highly endangered. And Brett said, you can't do this. Please give him to me. I will give him the best care. And he eventually got him. And Munu is now thriving because of Brett, who is his angel.
It's amazing. So now what I want our listeners to learn is how this became your focus and passion, moving from acting to being an activist. Has this been something that has been part of you your entire life?
Yes, it kind of has. Animals have been with me my whole life. I've always had a huge passion for animals. Even when I was young, I grew up in Texas, and I would see a dead animal in the road, and I would scream and cry, and my dad would slam on the brakes in the car and be like, what? He would be so worried he was going to hit a person, and be like, no, there's a dead animal. And I've always just had this close connection with animals. And I swore when I got older, I'm going to have tons of animals, because my parents wouldn't let me have a ton when I was growing up. And so after I did American Pie, I was in this position where I could start trying to give back and make a difference. And I knew I wanted to do something with animals. And in the process of exploring that, I decided to start a dog and cat rescue, which was Animal Avengers, like you mentioned.
Right.
But the mission at that time was in LA, dog and cat rescue, because that's what I knew. So after running it that way for over 10 years, I felt like my life was just going in a different direction, and there must be a way to utilize my platform in a bigger way than just one dog and cat at a time. And I kind of went on this journey to figure out what could I do and what could I bring to this that is unique for me. So I did go on many years of this, just like trying to figure it out, this journey of discovery. And during that time, I just as a person started getting led by the universe back to South Africa every time. Everybody I was meeting was from South Africa. Just like you say, like a couple things came in your orbit all at once with Rhino. So people were coming for years, coming into my orbit all about South Africa. So I started really paying attention on social media to the poaching crisis, because I had been to South Africa once and I had no idea there was a poaching crisis when I was here before. So I started following as many people as I could, and I was in New York at one point, and they did a big ivory crush in Times Square. So that was kind of the beginning of the journey for me, because I already knew in my head I wanted to be more involved in this space somehow. And I got invited to go to that, to a cocktail party like the night before. And I just started meeting as many people as I could, and just decided, I just need to go. I need to go to South Africa. I need to raise some money to help animals there and kind of figure it out. I don't know I can't figure it out from New York. So I think it was in the fall of 2015. Okay. I came out to South Africa. I just kind of created this whole journey for myself. And there was somebody in South Africa that started helping me connect some dots and do part of this journey where I was meeting some people that were involved in the space that I could talk to, and kind of decided last minute, well, let me interview people, because then I have all this footage, and in case I can learn something, I can create something other people can learn from. So it became kind of my mission just to go and interview as many people as possible. And after a couple of months of traveling around Zimbabwe and South Africa, I went back to New York and realized I just don't want to be in New York anymore. I just don't want to be in the U.S. right now. I want to be over here where I felt like I was closer to the issues. I was meeting amazing people. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like my life was starting to flow. Because when, you, with like acting, say, I was in LA for like 20 years. And after a while, I wasn't doing the roles that I wanted to do. I wasn't getting the offers I was wanting to get. And it felt like I was hitting a lot of brick walls. And so I was forced to kind of go on this journey of discovery of what it meant to be happy. Like, what will make me happy? What will make me happy right now if I'm not, I think I want to be doing these roles and I think I want to be acting, but it's not happening. And how long am I going to stay here waiting for something to happen that maybe it's not meant to be happening right now for me in this moment? So I finally started listening to my heart and the universe and just following other paths. And that's the journey that got me to South Africa. And when I went back, that's when I realized, you know what, I'm going to just move there. It doesn't have to be forever. It can be for a period of time, but whatever it is, I'm feeling drawn to move to South Africa right now and start a chapter of my foundation there. So
amazing.
Yeah, it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of happened. When I look back, it all happened so quickly and almost like a blur, almost like something else was just controlling my day to day to get me here. And it was the end of 2016 by the time I actually moved here. So like I had done a second trip out here, and during that trip, my apartment in New York was sublet to someone else, and all of my stuff was put into storage while I wasn't even there. So by the time I got back, I'm like, well, let's go pack a bag from my storage unit and get my dog, and we'll go.
Shannon, this is a question I have for you. And by the way, this is awesome. Thank you for sharing that story, because it really showed you followed your passion all literally halfway around the world. And there's one thing to follow your passion and help with a cause. There's another thing to lead it. What I want to ask you is, what has the experience been like leading the Shannon Elizabeth Foundation? Because there's raising money and there's speaking, but then there's actually all the effort that goes around it. What has that experience been like for you in positioning yourself in this passion of yours, but in a passionate role of being a leader of a group?
Gosh, I think I'm still learning. I'm still learning every day. Like, I don't look at myself as a leader. Like, it's not something I was trained in like business school or anything. And it's kind of one of those things where I'm learning, trying to read books. I'm trying to talk to people. I have some great people around me that are good leaders. And I really depend on people like that, who it's their expertise to kind of help me be a leader, help them guide this foundation. I mean, it was this group of people that I've put together here that convinced me. Like, we looked at Animal Avengers and we looked at our logo, and they said, look, you're working in a very serious space now. You're working alongside government, and right, you need to be taken seriously. So we need to rebrand the organization. And that was almost heartbreaking for me, because Animal Avengers has been my baby for so long. But they convinced me that for now, this is what was going to be best to make the biggest impact. And so we decided to make Animal Avengers our youth program, because our logo skews quite young. Our logo was done by one of the heads of Marvel Comics when I was doing Jay and Silent Bob. I was working with him. So it's like there's all this history there for me. So that kind of stuff I've been led into, like I didn't even come up with it. I'm like understanding the reasoning, and I've got a director of programs and operations that is just incredible, and business is his background, and conservation is his background. And one of my board members here is actually his father, who is one of the biggest conservationists, I'd say, in South Africa. So they've really helped to guide me and guide the rebranding of this whole organization and setting it up in a way that it's completely different than what I've ever experienced before. And it's really growing the organization now so that we can hopefully make the biggest impact possible, because really this is what I want to be doing till I die.
Wow.
You know?
Shannon, it's really interesting. One of the things that we talk about a lot on this program is those that are master connectors, those that have the connections, actually thrive as leaders. And it's really interesting because all of these connections you've had from your fame and your passion and pairing all that together, let alone this guiding force that seems to be sending you to other parts of the world, is really what makes you even more qualified to be a leader, because you've mastered how to use those relationships, not only just to raise money, but also to follow your heart and literally follow wherever it leads to all these places and these challenges. I love asking this question of the guests of the show, and I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay.
The organization is doing great, and it's really getting brand awareness. And like you said, it's changing in a direction that's maybe becoming more professional or highlighting you as the brand more to do better things. So you're thriving each and every day. But we sometimes have off days where we're not kicking on all cylinders. Shannon, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or what individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Well, sometimes it's just a bad day. it's just a day where the energy is off. And a lot of times I don't even seek to try to fix that day. I just seek to honor myself. And if I'm in a space where I just want to go lay down and watch Netflix, and I don't want to look at my computer, and I don't want to work, I don't want to read a book, I don't want to meditate, I don't want to do anything, then I'll go do that. Sometimes it's just taking my dog for a walk on the beach. You know, I sometimes it's just eating some good food. I love cooking, making a meal, being creative in that way. It's just about stepping back, because when you push, you're going to hit some brick walls. I mean, meditating is a big thing for me as well. I think it's a really big way of opening up things in your universe and your mind, and things that you can never imagine with like your mind and your computer, but you go within and you let things come to you, and that's a whole different thing.
We're at the beginning of 2020 that we're recording this interview, and what's your game plan for this year? What are the big initiatives that the Shannon Elizabeth Foundation has ahead that you're looking forward to, things that are on your plate that you're really excited about for this year?
Gosh, we actually have a meeting coming up in 2 weeks where we're going to put all of this down with our team on paper. We're actually going to go on a little 2-day retreat to iron this out even more. So if you were asking me in 2 weeks, it might even be a little different. But like we launched a program last year called Rhino Review. And it's actually at rhinoreview.org. And it's an education, and it's under our education and awareness platform. And we have 4 like key pillars of things that we do. And we're going to be working on that even more this year, because there's still a lot missing from it that we want to do. But we're also going to be starting our research on our next review, which is going to be the big cat review. So our long-term vision is that the conservationist I was talking about, that our director's father, his name is Peter Borchard. He was the founder of a magazine called Africa Geographic, and they ran it as a family for over years. So his background is research and writing, and he's really respected as someone who can write in an unbiased way. And a lot of the issues surrounding conservation are multiple faceted, multiple sided, with lots of different opinions. And I think for any of us to come up with working solutions, we all have to understand the problems, and we have to understand all sides of an issue. So with rhinos, there's like the rhino horn trade, or there's hunting. And does that contribute in any way to conservation? And people are very, very much on one side of the fence or the other with this. So our aim is to put the information out there in a way that people can make their own decisions, because I think it's only then that solutions are going to be found.
Right.
And it's also, these are also platforms where teachers can educate kids, where college students can write their thesis, and where businesses that have a philanthropic side can learn about these issues so that they can give better in their philanthropy. So this is a big thing for us to keep tackling. And I think this will never stop. We're always going to do another review, and every review is going to be active. It's never going to sit stagnant. There's always new information. Like people can sign up to our Rhino Review newsletter now, and they'll get weekly updates on what was big with rhinos around the world that week, because we want people to stay informed of what's happening out there. And my goal for that is to be able to put together like a push notification list, even if it's a big WhatsApp group that I can put together over time, so that if there's an emergency like Munu, we can send out that notification immediately and activate a lot of people who care about rhinos and care about the space. And whether it's to give $1 or whether it's to find somebody that can help with a situation, whatever it is, I want to be able to start creating those networks around specific crisis. So that's a big thing for us. But even bigger than that, our really big project is land. It's land protection, because, to protect land, it's to protect everything within it. So it's not just the rhino and the big charismatic species, but it's every plant, every insect, and every person that may live on that land. And it's land and plants that are going to really reverse what's happening, if we have any hope of reversing it, with all the climate change that's happening. We have to start protecting land. So we have some really big projects that we're putting together where we want to work with philanthropists and create ways that work for them to create a legacy for them and their family with this land, where we're going to uplift local community. We're going to bring them into conservation where they're participating in it. Because right now, a lot of areas exclude the surrounding communities, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's those surrounding communities that are the ones that need the jobs, they need money. So they're the easiest ones for the, poachers will go to those communities and they'll start recruiting people because they're throwing money at them.
Yeah.
But rather than doing that, if we start including them in conservation and we start educating them with whatever it is they're interested in, so we bring them into the property as providers of whatever their skill is. So if they want to be a mechanic, we get them trained to be a mechanic. We get them everything they need. We help them set up their own business that becomes part of their legacy that they can hand down generation to generation. So you start really bringing them into the mix, which we think is a very big part of this. And not enough people are doing that. And we want this to be a model that people can duplicate all over the world, because I think it's really important. So this is our biggest project right now.
No, I love it. And it's big, it's huge. It's got that big, hairy, audacious goal type thing. And you're the right person to take it on. Let's do this, Shannon. Share with the listeners, if you could, all the places people can learn, contribute, websites, everything. We're going to put all the links in the show notes. However, it always gets more engagement when they hear it directly from you.
Cool. Well, we're redoing our main website right now. It will be shannonelizabeth.org. And I'm thinking the new site will go up probably within the month. So keep that in the back of your mind. But rhinoreview.org is the program that I was talking about. So that is a big one. And if people can go and sign up for those newsletters, that will be the beginning of us creating that community we can reach out to. And then Instagram and Facebook, it's Shannon Elizabeth FDN for Foundation. And because we were Animal Avengers and now we've changed the name, so we kind of started from scratch again with all of our socials. So we need as much help as we can get with people to start following and participating. And then I think Twitter is also, it's Shannon Elizabeth FDN.
Amazing that somebody else had that taken. How did you not grab that?
No, you know what it is? On Twitter, there's not enough characters for Shannon Elizabeth yet.
Oh,
For years and years, my personal is still at Shannon Elizabeth, because the ET will go in, but the H, it stops before the H. And I don't know how to get it to have one more character. So if there's anyone from Twitter listening and they can get me my actual name, that would be amazing.
That's too funny.
And then also, if people want to contact us directly or get involved, info@shannonelizabeth.org, or even our director, which is simon@shannonelizabeth.org. And you can reach us directly that way, and we'll get back to you on anything, whether you're interested in participating somehow or just have questions or anything else. We're an open book.
That's awesome. And we're going to do some extra promotion for you on this, Shannon. We're going to use some other means that we have over at Thrive Loud in our community to bring more awareness about it.
Thank you. Oh, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay. So now, if it's okay with you, Shannon, I want to go down what we like to call Fun Street here at the end of the interview. Then this is going to be a lot of fun. And I just learned something, which is kind of interesting, because you obviously have a good sense of whether it was your career and when to move, or the calling from work. And that seems to fall very much in line with the fact that you used to play poker a lot. Maybe that is something that you have a little bit of an instinct as to reading the situation very well. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, let's start off with a signature question here on Thrive Loud. Shannon Elizabeth, do you have an all-time favorite movie?
So funny, but since I was a kid, my all-time favorite movie was The Wizard of Oz.
Ah, okay.
So I just stick with The Wizard of Oz. It always makes me happy. I love the songs. I don't know. There's just something about it that has always struck a chord with me.
Okay. Poker playing. When did you pick up playing poker? Because you actually, and are you still pretty active with it? Or obviously maybe it was something a little while ago you were more active before, like television. Yeah, keep going.
I picked it up to raise money for the charity, actually. Because when I started Animal Avengers, I was always looking for ways to raise money. And they started doing in Hollywood just a bunch of poker shows all of a sudden. So Celebrity Poker Showdown on Bravo, I think, was the first one. And they came to me and were like, look, it's $5,000 to the charity of your choice. Whether you win or lose, doesn't matter. And if you win, you get more to your charity. So anytime I could do anything to raise money for charity, I would do it. So I actually just played my first game of poker ever on that show. Lost horribly. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had made money for the charity. So then another show came up, another opportunity or a fundraising kind of game. And so I just kept playing because it became this fad for a while. And because of that, another actor called me and said, look, I've got a couple pros that want to teach a bunch of us. So we're going to come to your house and I'm going to bring these pros and they're going to teach us a bunch of stuff. So that happened, and I didn't even know, like, there were more people there. I was like, I don't even know who the pros are. I don't understand what's going on. And after this happened a bunch of times, somewhere along the way, something clicked. And I was like, okay, it's not even about the cards.
Yep.
It's something completely different. And I love that. And I love, like, using your brain in that way, and you're analyzing, you're watching, and it just clicked, and I started getting it more, and I started having more fun with it, and I started getting sponsored by companies to go and play, so I wasn't even using my own money, which was the best part. So then I was getting opportunities to play, raise money for charity, and not really risk anything. So I kind of ended up playing a lot for like 5 years. And so then eventually, no matter what I did, I wasn't winning. I wasn't doing well, no matter what move I made. And that was part of the universe. And to me was saying, don't do this anymore. You are meant to be doing other things, and this is wasting your time. So I had to start listening to that because it was starting to put me in a really dark space.
Yeah.
Because I played a lot of tournament poker, and in a tournament, you're going to lose most of the time. There's only one winner.
Right.
And so it just became not good for me mentally when I just realized, okay, that had a purpose and it was amazing and I learned a lot, and I'll still play now for charity, but I had to start focusing on my life mission. And I truly believe that I'm on this planet to help animals and the environment. And as long as I stay focused on that, I think other things will happen. Other things will come in. I still want to direct. I still want to act, and I still do some of that. But I still have to focus on why I'm on the planet, which is the animals.
I love that. Two more questions here, and then I'll let you go, Shannon. Great question here, which was a request from a fan who asked this. It's heard that I was interviewing you. And the question was, what was your favorite movie to work on? The actual experience of working on the movies that you've been on. You've worked with some pretty fun people, obviously, in some fun settings. Your personal favorite.
It's so hard because I look at so many of the things I've done now, and remembering what it was like to work on them sometimes is so different than like what my memory of it is even. And it's just, there's so much like stress that would, like, I was really stressing out a lot when I was first starting because I felt like there was so much expected of me, and I expected so much of myself, and it's a tough question to answer because there are things that I absolutely love about every project. But there was a film that I did that was just a Hallmark movie. It was like a 12-day shoot. It was like nothing, but I got to sing in it. And I've never gotten to do something like that where I was going into a sound studio and recording. And that was really challenging, and it was really so much fun. And I was playing a pop star, so they were constantly like overdoing my hair and makeup, and it was just fun to kind of live in the shoes of like a pop star, because every actor wants to be a pop star and every pop star wants to be an actor. So,
right.
So that was just really like this, and they play it still every Christmas on Hallmark, and I've gotten such amazing response to it. Of people saying that it's really helped them out of bad situations, because it's just a light, sweet, it's kind of like a Sleepless in Seattle kind of storyline. But it's just one of these things that's become very close to my heart. It's called Catch a Christmas Star.
All right.
Yeah.
Shannon, I, by the way, this has been awesome. And I think what everybody who's listening to this gets is obviously you have such a great purpose on making everything around you better. And even the fact that the movie or the work that you were most passionate about was about helping somebody else. And that speaks a lot about you, whether picking up that animal on the side of the street in Texas or wherever you've been in your life and helping all these causes. And I can't imagine you would have ever thought this is the path that it's on. So, by the way, continued success to you on all these efforts that you're going through.
Thank you.
And I guess my final question here really is, share with the listeners a message that you want, something from the heart, I guess, about your foundation and your cause, so that others can understand and connect with it as well. One particular thing that you'd love to ask about anyone listening, specifically about these causes that you help with each and every day.
I think that's the most important thing with I think this will go with any charity, is that, especially if you're starting a foundation, it's not about competing. And I think so many people are out there competing for the donor dollar, competing for a spotlight. And I think that we're in a day and age where it's about collaboration and unity, and it's about working together. And that's something that is a real guiding principle for us, because coming into conservation, there's a lot of people in conservation, and there's a lot going on. And we wanted to not add to that like noise, but be a uniting factor. So even with like our projects like Rhino Review, we went to a lot of the organizations and said, this is what we're doing. Will you open up your archives to us? Will you help share this information? Knowing that other organizations are going to do the same thing. And everyone has said yes. And everyone has been really great about, letting us be this group that's come in, and we're trying to unite people in this war, because it is like poaching is a war out there, and people are dying every day, and the poaching syndicates are very united with each other. So for us, we needed to start being really united in our fight to save the planet. And I think it's true with everything out there. We need to start working together, and we need to start coming from a place of love. And I think that's what's going to make anything succeed in this world, is when you vibrate at such a high level, you're going to attract things that also vibrate at that level. And so if you want anything good to happen, whether it's for yourself or your charity or a cause or anything, you have to stay in that place of love, and then you can attract things that are also based in love. And I think that's kind of the key to everything.
Shannon Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on Thrive Loud today. I think this has been awesome, and continued success to you, the foundation, and it was great having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all you do. You give such an amazing platform to so many people, and it's really important, and I think you're amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And to all our Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward, and be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and check us out on the web at thriveloud.com or Follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud.